All right, thanks. Hey guys, good afternoon. My name is Matt Bartley. I'm going to talk about inside linebacker keys and drills that we do here every day at Xenia. Um, little coaching background here. I just finished my 28th year of coaching. I've coached in urban settings, rural settings, suburban settings. Got my first job. Mickey Hannon hired me as a youngster at Springfield North. So I kind of got the alma mater bug out early in my coaching career. From there, I went on to Dublin Scioto, coached 4 years at Miami Trace. And then in 2003, I got a chance to come to Xenia, and I jumped on it because that's where I was living at the time. Over my coaching career, I have coached every position, offense and defensively. I've coached at the freshman, JV, and obviously the varsity levels. And I've also had a chance to coach at about every defense out there. Mickey and Hannon and Jim Dimitroff hired me. Mickey was the head coach. Jimmy was the defensive coordinator. I coached in a 5-2. I've coached at a 4-4, a 3-3, a 4-3, a 4-2. So it's kind of funny. It's how it's all cyclical and coming back around. I've coordinated on every side of the ball. I've been a defensive coordinator, special teams coordinator, and I think the spot that probably helped me out the most was the 4 years when I was at Miami Trace when I was hired to be the offensive coordinator there. I learned all kinds of stuff about defenses, and I think in all honesty that that's made me a better defensive coach looking at it, knowing how offensive coaches look at it. Currently, I'm the inside linebacker coach and scouting coordinator at Xenia. What's a scouting coordinator? Basically, my job is to make sure I have all of the film that I can get and make sure it's broke down. Huddle Assist helps that out a lot. I also create the scouting report, and I have a great group of young coaches. You know, when I first started coaching, I was the youngest coach on staff, I think, for most of my career, and probably the last 4 or 5. I'll show you how we do it here at Xenia, and I'll be more than happy to share it with you. So what I'm really talking about today is what's it take to play inside linebacker. You know, we'd all love to have the 6'3", 225-pound linebackers that can run like crazy and hit like trucks, but sometimes you just don't have those kids. But, you know, when I look for my kids, I'm looking for kids that are physically and mentally tough. But they got to be a hitter. You know, the old saying is, if they're going to bite as a dog, they're going to bite as a pup. And usually their freshman year, when I first see some of these kids, even sometimes 7th and 8th grade, you know really quickly who's going to be a hitter. I'm looking for competitors. Sometimes they may not fit the box, but they compete. Now, I got some clips of that that I'll show you today of guys who don't fit the box, but were great competitors. Look, guys who obviously are pretty agile, good lateral movement, and then they got to have a football sense, because sometimes, you know, you can prep all week and kids will just have a knack for finding the ball, and it's nothing that you coach as much as I'd like to say that I would. There are times that I don't know everything. And I can't prep them for everything. And sometimes those kids make you look really good as a coach when they just have a good football sense. And they got to, you know, the one thing I get on them, though, about is they got to be able to read their keys. And they got to make sure that they are really hooked up mentally. Now, stance, this is basic stance. You've heard this 1,000 times. There's nothing earth-shattering in this. You know, parallel stance, a good athletic position, knees slightly bent, a slight flex at the hip, shoulders over knees, weight forward, and arms in front of the body to protect their legs. I know in high school you're not allowed to cut, but boy, there's a lot of traffic that happens down around your legs. And if a linebacker gets that taken away from them, they're taking their one advantage that they have of being able to take advantage of an offensive lineman. Now, I concentrate on the 4 A's. When I talk to linebackers, I talk about the 4 A's. The first one is, if you can't get this right, is alignment. And they've got to be aligned. Now, I'm not hard and fast on these rules because there's a lot of things that goes into this. But I'd like them to be about 4 to 5 yards away from the line of scrimmage. Now, there's some things that change this. The formation, if teams are really spreading you out, you can't be stuck on the guard if you got 3 receivers and you're responsible for carrying the third receiver somewhere. Sometimes you got to adjust that. So you got to adjust the formation. Ability alignment is what I usually use. I'm like, hey, this is where I'd like you, but get where you need to be to make the play that you need to make. Down and distance tendencies, we'll change that. Where you are on the field position. Last year we were in a game, and it's the last play of the game. Team needed to score a touchdown, and I had a linebacker lined up at 4.5 yards. I'm like, what are they doing? They got to they got to score a touchdown, and we're at midfield. Back up. Keep everything in front of you. And then also stunts and blitzes will make a change in their alignments. The next day is their assignment. The part about being a linebacker, especially inside linebacker, is you got to know the stunt that's going to happen in front of you. Whether we're slanting or angling, whether we're pinching, whether there's a gap exchange, a TE exchange, a nose, an NT exchange, one of those exchanges, you got to know where everybody's going, and then you got to know where you fit in that stunt. You got to attack the fit that goes with the call based on where you fit. So you got to attack it based on where you fit, based on your key, which I'll get to here in a minute. The linebackers got to make sure we have gap integrity. And what really I'm talking about there is, defensive linemen sometimes get washed when they shouldn't. Sometimes they go out when they should be going in. So maintaining gap integrity, that's the linebacker's job, is to always make the D-line right. We'll talk about our guys like, the D lineman missed that angle. So he wasn't in his gap. I'm like, well, the linebacker needs to see that happened and make that change accordingly. The next day is assist. Now, this is what basis of my talk's going to be about today. We key flow to the offensive line. And I know somebody's saying like, well, what's your key? Well, tell me who the offense is, and I'll tell you after watching film what the key is. Sometimes we key the offset back. A lot of teams in gun, sometimes if they're in pistol, we'll key the quarterback is open, and it tells us a lot of things. Now, when the linebacker has the key come to him, he's a force attack guy. He's got to attack his gap, and he's got to keep his outside arm free. We want to send everything back inside to our other inside linebacker, because he should be scraping over based on whether the flow's away or key away here. Key away, you're going to scrape, you're going to slow read, and then you're going to look for the open window or the closed window. If you get an open window, you are going to attack that window immediately. And I always tell them, you got to go inside out, because if you go outside playing inside linebacker, you're creating a gap inside of you that you cannot get to, especially when you are the backside linebacker. If you over scrape and you go too far outside, and I got some clips to this, you'll see where my guys are trying to dive back inside, and at best you get an arm tackle. If that running back's doing his job, he is going to make you pay for being too wide. Now, if you get a pull read, so, after you get your key off of, your key in the flow of the back, you read the offensive lineman. If you get a key where there's a pull, they need to yell, pull, 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 and they retrace and what we call fall back. So you're going to retrace your steps, you're going to fall back to where you started, and then find where you fit. So far of our 4 A's, we have alignment, assignment, assess, and then attack. All right, so our last A is attack. And in today's spread option offenses world, we have coaches talk about, God, how are we going to defend 4 verticals? And I tell them, it doesn't matter how we defend 4 verticals if we can't stop the run first. So my linebackers are taught we are run defenders first. Stop the run first. They got to attack downhill. They got to attack the blocking scheme. And that's one of my jobs as the scouting coordinator, is to know what their blocking schemes are. We see zone, we see triple, we see the wing tee. So whatever we see that week, our guys work Monday through Thursday. We have a special period in practice called block schemes. And that's all we do is we line up, we make a call, and the offensive line runs a scheme at us. Sometimes we have ball carriers, other times we don't. So when we get down to it, by Thursday, they've done a great job. Whereas Monday, if it's something we hadn't seen, like the wing tee or a power scheme, like, we're getting ready for CJ for our first scrimmage. CJ runs a lot of power. So we got to get ready to see that and deal with that, getting an extra blocker over on the attack on their side where they're attacking. So we're going to work hard that Monday leading up to it, getting ready for CJ so their kids can see power and know exactly where they fit in that. And we also impress upon our team pursuit. And you got to run and make a secured tackle. I've got a couple clips of good pursuit that have come from two different of my inside linebackers. But, I'm not, I'd love to see big hits. Everybody loves big hits. But if you're going to make a tackle, we just want you to make a tackle. Don't go for the big hit. The big hit will come once that person, the ball carrier, cuts back. That's when, if you're pursuing, that's when you'll get your big hits. So our 4 A's, again, are alignment, assignment, assess, and attack. If they can do those 4 things, you got a chance of playing. All right, and then this talks about pursuit. I saw this quote. I think I saw it at Ohio State in their defensive team room. It says, a player's commitment to the team can be measured from his distance from the football when the whistle blows. The ball gets run away from you. That doesn't mean you can take a play off. Get over there. Maybe somebody causes a fumble and there's a ball loose on the ground trying to get it back. I also tell our guys they must arrive at the ball with a generally bad disposition and with bad intentions. We don't want to physically harm people. We just want to make sure they're punishing the runner and making sure they get as many hats on the ball that they can. Now, I've got 2 clips of pursuit. I'm going to skip through the sideline view. I'll be honest, I hate the sideline view after I scout. I'd much rather watch the end zone view because I can see where my guy's spacing is. So this young man literally weighs 145 pounds, was a district qualifying wrestler for 3 years in high school. So, yeah, not your prototypical inside linebacker, but he could just get the job done. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, the ball is going to go away from him. I believe it's a pass, and I want you to watch the pursuit. He dives, knocks the kid's feet from underneath him, and it stops him from scoring. Now, unfortunately, that young man was probably this team's best player. We were really worried about him, and he was injured actually on that play and didn't get to play the rest of the year. But our guy, number 40 there, did a great job of, I'll show it again this time, one more time. He does a good job of chasing the ball down on a ball away from him. The defense gets kind of split here. Front side linebacker takes a poor angle, but the backside linebacker there comes, makes a play, and moves on. So here's another one. This is the pursuit that I said happens with big hits. So this is against our rival. This is week 1, 2 years ago. This young man ends up being the defensive player of the year for us 2 years ago. Went on to play college football at Wittenberg. Not a great sized kid. I always joked, I said if he was 6'2" and weighed 225, he'd have been an SEC kid just because he understood the game, had great technique. So ball's going to go away from him here, and he gets the big hit. It's a reverse. He's chasing the ball coming back down. And that kid cut back and, does a great job of being where he's supposed to. You can see he follows. Oh, there's Flo. He's running. Oh, it's a reverse. He comes back, runs all the way across. The running back makes a cutback, and we're there for the play. So pursuit's kind of big for us. Now, drills. I get a lot of guys question me, well, what drills do you use with your guys? Well, I'll be honest. I can't tell you what drills I'm using every year, but I have a group that I call you. Every coach has got to have, I don't care what position you play. I've coached every position. When I was an offensive line coach, I had a bunch of drills I could pull from for there. I think every coach needs a tool chest. Now, for linebackers, for me, you got to determine what your non-negotiable drills are. Like, if coach says I'm only going to get 10 minutes of individual today, I got to make sure these are the drills I'm going to get done. These are your core values. And I'll tell you right now, every day I will get key drill in no matter what. If coach gives me 5 minutes, I'm going to do nothing else but get my key drill in, because for me, my key drill is my one non-negotiable. So now those drills will change year to year. And they, you're going to find ones that work for your kids and your level. Just because, Ohio State does it or the New England Patriots do it doesn't mean it fits with your guys and your scheme. Make sure you know what those are and use those. Now, here's a copy of my toolbox. And coaches, like I said, I will share this with you. This is nothing, I don't have privacy rights on this. This isn't copyrighted. This is stuff I've gone through and, gotten from different coaches. I will tell you this drill right here, the contact drills, number 12, a bullock drill. I did come up with that one. I was having a kid with a specific thing. He was struggling with stepping forward with contact. He just always wanted to make contact with his hands first. So I came up with a drill, and it got named after him. So, some of these I've done, all kinds of these different things. But, so this is my toolbox. I start off with the same thing every year. Actually, I'm going to add a new contact drill in. I just heard Al Washington speak about. I love it. It'll probably go over here in my tackling drill circuit. But, it's one of those ones that I love doing. All right, and then so the other thing I do is I create a daily chart. And on my daily chart, I mark in what drills I did that day. Yellow was if it was just one practice. So like we had, I think on this day, we had a morning practice where we had individual. In the afternoon was a special teams only. So if I do it on, both drills, both days on 2 days, it gets a black box fill in. If I do it just one of the practices, it gets yellow. So, there may be some days, even if we do a 2-day practice, I may only get a yellow in one and a yellow in the other, and I'll have to remember which ones I did. But it's a way for you to keep track of knowing which ones you've done. All right, so guys, I'm going to apologize now. All of my drills where my linebackers were doing these drills was left at school in today's challenging times. We can't get back into our school building. So I have two sons. One's a freshman offensive lineman at Georgetown College, and the other one is a senior to be offensive lineman, plays for us here at Xenia. So I had them drill them up. So they did some of these drills for me. So I'm going to apologize. They're not the best. But once we get back into school, if you want some of these drills, I'll share anything I got with you. It's kind of fun to watch them do it, though, because they both think they're still athletes. So, normal individual period, I'm going to start off with some footwork. I'll do the run-through drill. Everybody's done that, the double up. We do a side shuffle and rip. So, they shuffle sideways over the bags, and then they'll do a slalom in and out. At the end of these two, they usually either do a scoop and score or they do a club rip, one of the ones that we do, kind of different each day. The one I have for film here on footwork is called 2 in, 1 out. And the 2 in, 1 out drill, I like this drill because it's a quick, works on quick changes of direction. And then they got to burst out and get into a pursuit. We really work on keeping square and keeping a quiet upper body. One of the things that's hard for younger guys to do is to keep their upper body quiet. They're always moving. They feel like they got to get something done instead of being square to it. So, all right. So this is my, we didn't even have half rounds. We had some old tongue and groove boards in the garage. We pulled these out. And so this is my son, Peyton. He's going to do a 2-in-1 out here to the right. So you go over, and then you're out. And show it again. Over, out. Now he's taking a false step in here. And I kind of got on him about it. I'm like, hey, man, you got to move that foot. His right foot right here. If you watch real quick, he takes a false step. And if it was one of my linebackers, we would be talking about taking false steps and how it gets you in trouble. All right. And then the next guy goes. All right. That's my son, Paxton, right there. He's getting after it. He definitely thinks he's a skilled guy. He wants to run the ball. Every offensive lineman wants to run the ball. And then you go over to the left. All right, so that's 2-in-1 out. Here's the other guy doing it. All right, so it's a pretty simple drill. Nothing real, hard. Pretty easy to do. Now, downhill. I like this downhill drill. It's a footwork drill, but it teaches pursuit. And it teaches you how to attack a runner laterally and using the leverage of the sideline. You got to use that leverage of the sideline. When we do this drill in individual, we use the sideline and the hash to be our two boundaries. And I talk about the guys about staying behind the ball, and that way, if you give up a cutback and you're behind and you're supposed to be the cutback player, you're giving up a big score. And I got some. So here they are working the downhill drill, and you can see Peyton is closing the. Peyton's going to close the gap. Now Paxton is going to jog, and then he chops his feet like he's sprinting. When Peyton here sees him chop his feet, he is going to take off and turn and try to sprint downhill at the runner. See if we can watch it here a little bit. See, Peyton's maintaining some backside leverage here. He's coming out now. He's popping up here a little bit. Instead of seeing how you see how his upper body is kind of up and down. That's what the quiet upper body we talk about trying to get rid of. And then what happens is the other guy does it coming back. Paxton's got the same problem. He's a little tall, and he does it his first step. I'll talk about his first step here. It's one of the things I get on my guys about is this first step with Paxton's foot. He's lateral, and it needs to be a downhill step, because right now what he's doing is he's giving that running back more room to go. All right. Now I have some video of it. Now remember when I said I just like competitors? This was our state qualifying 132-pound linebacker this year, and he's playing inside linebacker. Why is he playing? Because he's a competitor. He liked to get after it. We had some injuries this week, and he said, Coach, I could play inside linebacker. He's normally a safety for us. And he came down and played inside linebacker for us. And he does a great job of chasing the running back downhill here. See, he's working out towards the edge, and uses the sideline as leverage. Now, is it a physical attack? Is it a huge tackle? No. But what he does do is he maintains leverage. He's trying to get where he needs to be. Obviously, this is where he fits in the stunt. And he gets there, and the ball pops out. So now he's in complete pursuit mode. He allows the running back to get back ahead of him so he can use leverage. And he works downhill, gets the running back out of bounds. All right. All right, so here's this linebacker. That's Nick Willis. Nick's taking off. He's got a fast flow read to him, and he is running downhill and does a real good job here of settling. Watch his upper body. His upper body doesn't change much. and just gets the guy on the ground. Is it a great tackle? Is it outstanding? No. But what he is doing is he's just making a good, secure tackle and getting the guy downhill. Now, I'm also going to show you, I'm not going to show you all the good ones. I'm going to show you some bad ones in here too. That's Nick again doing a great job here. Nick's doing a fantastic job of getting underneath a lineman, chasing downhill, uses leverage. Not bad. Pretty good angle there. Next one here. They're in an empty set, so and I told you we adjust our alignment here. Here's an empty set. So Nick's kind of in the box by himself. Sees it, runs downhill, makes great tackle. Good job of a drill there. Coaches will tell you if you're doing a drill and you don't see it in the game, you should stop doing it. I get what they're saying. That's a good example of it. Key drill. The scouting report changes the key each week. I don't have any hobbies. My kids are older. I like to read, but I like reading in the morning. So, I watch between 60 and 80 hours of film between our film and opponent's film. I watch 60, 80 hours of film a week. And so I really think I have a good idea of what our kids need to be keying each week. And the longer kids play for me, once they get film, they'll know pretty quickly, like, hey, coach, we're going to key this week, aren't we? And I'm like, yeah, probably going to key that this week. Every offense has specific keys. You can't always key the tailback. You can't always key the fullback. Coaches are smart now, and they know that people start keying certain things, and they use them against you. So you got to figure out what offense and what their key is. I make a cut up of their top plays, and I sit down with them, and I show the kids them. I'm like, hey, look, this is their top plays, and I'm going to find, the 10 best examples of a play and show them how their key gets into where they need to be. And then I give each one of my kids this. This is a sample of one of our inside linebacker scouting reports. So not only do I do one for the entire team, I also create one just for my guys. And I put on there things we need to fix, things we're going to focus on this week. I talk a little bit about the opponents, and then I get a tendency chart, and I'll put that on there. One of the things I like to do with my guys is I like to use risk cards, and I'll put in there their tendencies. So our kids, if I put 3rd and 4 or more, 90% pass, they just look. They're now tuned. Just look at their wristband, and if they got a tendency, they'll start yelling it out. There's no reason to keep secrets. But so this week you can tell I was working with things we need to fix for key reading and scheme understanding. Had to work on eye discipline. All right, we're going to have to work on some coverage, our fire coverage, our horns coverage, and our white coverage. And then we had to work on taking on an ISO block because we were going to get some ISO that year. Now, this is a key drill, and this is how we start off every day. Now, usually where Paxton is standing is where I stand so I can see their footwork. And I go through with each one kid. We do it really easy, one step, one way, and I want to see them mirror their key. Yep, one that way, and then we're good to go. And then what we'll do is we'll do 2 steps, and I expect them to take 2 steps. Peyton crossed his feet and shouldn't have there. I'd have corrected that if we were in practice. All right. It's what happens when you get offensive linemen trying to play linebacker sometimes. They don't do all the right things. And then we threw in a counter in there at him. So that he doesn't do a good job of retracing. Now, after that, we do key 2 drill. So the key comes to you. There's a secondary key. So for this one, I'm using a running back and an offensive lineman. This drill in season will change week to week. Usually I will have, maybe it's 2 linemen, whatever our key is what I will use. And, it really depends on the offense you're seeing. Sometimes, it's different things. So here's key 2. He steps, and then I did a counter step. So Peyton got back in. He must have seen a window there open early. Running back goes 2. And there's a down block by the offensive lineman. He scrapes hard. And then this is a full flow. Everybody's out, and he's off and running because he fits outside. Here's what it looks like from the backside. Paxton does a good job of staying inside tight. He's heard me yell that enough at the linebackers. Be tight, be tight. He was really tight on that inside block. There's the counter. And then one more. This will be full flow, and he's outside, does a rip, gets down low. Now I will show you some of this stuff. And like I said, I know there's some bad key reads in here. This one right here is, let me go back here, missed it. This leads to a touchdown. I think this was the first touchdown of the game. He's not reading his key. Or if he is, his feet don't follow him. And usually I tell him, I said, your eyes tell your feet where to go. So if I watch your feet not go where they're supposed to, then that means that your eyes weren't where they were supposed to be. So he gets his key right at him. We were keying the tailback this week. And his secondary key that week was the guard. That guard blocks out. This is open window all day long. He should be filling. He doesn't. He gets kicked out, creates a seam, and their tailback's off to the races, scores a touchdown. Just simple things like that. Now, here it is. I think this is, the same guy. He's going to get the same key, but he does a little bit better job. He's seen this play now before. He's down, he's in, makes a play. Now, it's a 4-yard gain, yeah, but I'll take 4 over 60 for any day. All right. Now, I only get this. This one is number 44 here. 44 is the linebacker on this one. So he is keying this tailback. And then he's going to key to the guard. He sees it. He's like, oh, wait a minute. That's a pass key in front of me. He stops. He retraces. Now, he should have picked the ball off, but just made sure he manned up on this guy there and stopped a screenplay from busting big on us. All right. I think this is one of the plays where this linebacker, Camden Kenny, he's going to go to Bluffton this year to play football. There you go. So he does everything he's supposed to. His key comes, he's got a pull, and he should be fitting in this area right here, but he's not. He's too wide, and he ends up with an arm tackle, diving back in, and gives up a 6-yard gain. All right, this is against Piqua. Really well-coached team. Now, he's going to read his key, which this week, I believe was his halfback. And when I told you got to make the D-line right, he's got an inside charge by his defensive end. So that means if he got his flows coming to him, he's got to scrape right over top and get in this gap. But he's got to make sure the D-line is right. Well, as he gets there, he sees the outside linebacker has now closed his gap. He needs to scrape over top. And look what happens. He's out there, he's unblocked, makes the play. And that's just all by doing his job. Nothing spectacular, not a big hit. Reads his key, tries to fill his hole. Nothing there. Go to the next gap out. Make the D-line right. All right, this one's Camden again. Camden does a good job this time reading his key, and he is tight. He stays tight, so he's coming down. Little wide. Ooh, let me come back underneath. Gets underneath, makes a nice play. And that just comes from just being able to read your key, read your secondary key, know where you fit, get in there. Not a bad job. All right, now this is where we don't go where we should. So this is Nick. Nick messes this one up. He's trying to be stubborn. Now he's got to trust his outside linebackers. This is a closed window to me. And we talked about this next day because Coach, I wasn't so sure, and I played inside out. So he's wrong. He guesses wrong. The ball bounces out. But if he goes where he was supposed to, outside here, he'd have been right there to make the tackle, just like Phillip was in that game against Pickle. Just keep going where you belong. It ends up being a 7-yard gain. But it should have been at best a 2-yard if Nick believes in his key. So he's got his key coming to him. He's good. Key's coming to me. Be outside. Now, what happens when your key goes away from you? Well, that's where you find that open window, closed window. But still the key goes away from you. Secondary key. This drill in season will change week to week. So here we are. I set this up, and I was just using the offensive lineman away. So there's his key. It goes away. He knows where to fit. He decided to climb over top on that one. So here's the next one. Key away, down block. You can see Peyton's a little unsure here of where to go. Now, this little bounce he does right here, we actually call this our boxer's bounce. So if my guys are not sure, they got a muddy window, they're not sure what it really is, I tell them to box like a bouncer. There it is. He bounces, and then he feels like, oh, okay, now I know where to go. Scraped over top. Not a bad job. Way to recover. And I got one more here. Hold on a minute. This will be the counter play. So there's the counter. He knows I got to get back, retrace, and get where I need to be. All right. So this is Phillip. His key's going to go away from him. Now, we talked about this with Phillip. That's an open window right there. That one went away from him. He should have right now scraped right in that hole. There's no blocker for him. He's going to make a tackle for a loss. But he let the lineman get up onto him. They get 4 yards. All right, here's this one. Flow goes away, shuffle, finds the open window, fills it. Pretty simple, right? Nothing real hard. Key goes away. Shuffle. Where's my window? There it is. He sees his window. Now he attacks. Here's Phillip. Not a bad job. He's shuffling. Does a good job of scraping over top here and trying to find in. Now, this shows you this is a young guy. This kid will be a senior for me this year, but this was him as a freshman. Now, outside of him going to his knees on contact, I think everything he does here is pretty good. All right, so his key goes away from him. He catches his secondary key, and he runs right in. Oh, not a bad job. Don't go to your knees. It would have been a good play other than that one, but he does a really good job. It shows you, you don't have to be the best. You just got to be a competitor. This guy's going to be fighting for a job this year. He does a great job of scraping underneath. And that's him as a sophomore. So, he barely, knew how to tie his shoes and put on his helmet and everything all at once and not get messed up. All right. All right. So here we go. So here's him not reading his key. This, I can tell you, he's not reading his key because his feet don't go where they should. So his key goes away from him. and made the play. And instead, it's a 13-yard gain. He's up on the safeties really quickly. Don't need too many of them to get first downs. Shoot drills, I don't have any of these, but I like having one of these around. We have a chute. You don't need one of those chutes on wheels. You can make it out of PVC. Larry Coyer was the defensive coordinator for the Colts one time, and he talked about when he was the head coach at Martins Ferry way back in the day that they didn't have hardly anything, but they just made, their chutes out of pipes. And so, you can take PVC and make a chute. We do slalom on the inside of the chute. We do shuffle on the edge. We do a counter drill under it. Like I said, once we get back, guys, I can give you a film of that and show you some things we do. Next one are our pass drills. We do a W drill, a zigzag drill. I really like this drill. We do a 2-to-1, 3-to-2 read in our fire coverage. Our fire coverage, we man up on the outside. Our corner takes this guy one-on-one. And then what my linebacker does is he reads the next two receivers, and it tells him what he's supposed to do. We also do a reroute, and we do some man-to-man work because we do play man-to-man. So we work on those things. And I got this clip. This is a clip of Nick doing a great job on his it actually ends up being a 3-to-2 read. So he reads the third receiver to the second receiver because he knows he doesn't have to count on number one because he's already manned up. Gets his pass read. Nick sees it, picks it off. Touchdown. I'll go back to the side view on this one because I'll show you what I mean by who he's reading. So what Nick's doing is Nick knows this guy is number one doesn't matter. He is going to read these two receivers. He's going to read this guy to this guy. He sees, oh, wait a minute, I'm good. Sat on the hook route because it's what he got. Touchdown. We do block protection. We roll our hips. We throw a belly button through a bag. We roll our hips and strike, thumbs up, fast hands and strike. We roll the hip from 2-point with a power step. We'll do an O-line jog and press and then snatch and rip, and then we do a difference drill. The difference drill we do is my linebackers, we used to do this during individual period, but now it's just a bag we have that's on our stadium. And one of the things they do is they go over and they get, 25 to 30 hits on the difference before practice. That's a pre-practice drill from them. I got some video of this. Peyton and Pax did a good job. So this is just belly button through the bag, and I work on their hips exploding, coming out. I'm going to make sure that their belly button hits the bag. The next one, we throw with the hands. I'd like to get Paxton's hips. Not too bad. I mean, he's not doing too bad. There. So belly button and hands. Notice his thumbs are up. Getting a little bit of extension. And then we step, and you can tell. I was watching this the other day when I was loading it. I told Peyton, I said, you can tell you're back to being an offensive lineman full time. His head comes out of there naturally like an offensive lineman's supposed to when they're pass blocking. So here he is. He's taking one step, punch and press, but he's still throwing his belly button in there at it. Not as much as I'd like, but he's still getting it done. And here's Pax. Pax not unloading his hips at all. I would want to go back. If this is a linebacker, I would work on him unlocking his hips. Now, these escape drills are something I got from Larry Johnson, Ohio State, who I think is probably the best defensive line coach in America. The two that we use is we use a 3-count and side scissors. Coaches, once again, if you want to talk about this, if you haven't seen this, let me know. We'll sit down. We'll talk. I'll explain it as best I can. But really, it's a really great set of drills. He's got like 4 or 5 of them. So it's 1, 2, 3, wrist, elbow, shoulder, wrist, elbow, shoulder. All right. So you can just tell, they're getting a little aggressive here. I'd like them to bend their knees, be a little bit more athletic when they're doing this. And then you can switch and do do it the other way. Here's the back, other view of it. And you always start off slow so you can get it done. And the guys can speed up as they go along. Just really quick way of getting used to using your hands and get rid of a blocker. And the one we use a lot are side scissors. Linemen come out with their hands at you. You're going to swipe their hands away, clear your hip, and get square back up. Coaches, that's all I got for today. Feel free to contact me. I got my contact info up here. My email is coach.bartley63@gmail. I'm on Twitter at coach_Bartley. Give me a shout. You want to talk ball? Something I do, something you do. They're like, hey, coach, have you ever thought about doing this? Like I said, 28 years, I don't go to clinics anymore that I don't learn stuff. It's 28 years of coaching. I don't know it all. So when I go to clinics, I may just pick up one thing. I'm not going to, change everything. But, there's a lot of times where I will pick up 1-2 drills, different way of calling something, terminology, something like that. So, coaches, I appreciate you listening today. If I could be of help at any time, please let me know.